I'm Glenn McGuinness, and this is Outburst. On the program, do you trust Canada's electoral process?
I trust the election process. I trust our government. Yeah.
Just because I don't feel as informed as I should be.
The process is absolutely fine.
Having the interference from other countries is scary, but I have to believe in democracy.
But first, this coming November, Americans will be choosing their next commander-in-chief, and this time around, we'll set a precedent. Joe Biden and Donald Trump will both be the oldest ever major party nominees to run in a presidential election in American history. If re-elected, Joe Biden will be 82 on Inauguration Day in January, and Donald Trump will be 78. And some people feel that may be too old. But in politics, age can also be an asset. Extensive life experience can guide a leader through difficult decisions and difficult moments. But when it comes to running for high office, do you have an age limit in mind? Our question.
Does age matter when running for President of the United States?
Yeah, I think age absolutely matters. I think you have to be able to relate to the audience. I think just for competency, that it's super important, and I think that there's just a huge disconnect between the older party leaders and the general public.
Now, get a younger president, and that kind of worries me, only because how long have they been in politics? Do they have, would they push that button?
No, I think sometimes age could help. Person's been around a while, like me, you see a lot of things happening, so you might know the right answers and at least have everybody's, let's say, concerns at heart.
It shouldn't matter, but I think 84 and 80 is kind of old. I think it's a bit too old. I think we should have more younger presidents like Obama and Clinton, that age, Bush, second Bush. Doesn't matter if they were good or not, but I think they need the younger presidents with fresh blood. I think 80s is kind of old.
I think it does, yes. I think when you get to a certain age, there's a possibility, a higher probability, I suppose, that you won't see out your full term that you voted in for. So I do believe age matters, kind of a later age. In terms of a younger age, I don't think there should be a limit on how young you can be to run for president. So I think potentially should be an older age limit, but not a younger age limit to run for president for the US.
Yes.
Why?
Why? I think anybody over 80 years old, yeah, they can't function as clearly, yeah, and has the energy to be able to do that.
So I feel that, and again, nothing really against people like older people, but I feel that they supposed to, or they should give more opportunities to the younger leaders. So this is what I think.
Not necessarily, although both of the ones in the States are looking a little old and a bit weird to me.
Well, I mean, I think it's part of the equation. I think, certainly overall health is important, mental capability is important. Age is a part of it, but it shouldn't be a sole requirement or distinguishing factor.
At a certain age, they start to lose their, ability. I mean, Biden gets lost walking away from a stage, so I think you start to question his ability to make decisions based on everyday tasks being more difficult for an older gentleman like himself. So age does matter, but it only matters when you hit like a certain point, it feels like.
Well, it's not so much just being too old, although that can go with problems, but being quite out of touch with an awful lot of things that matter significantly, and by being in power, as long as those people have been there, oftentimes beholden to a lot of interests that are very obviously not in the people's best interest.
I think it's more of a question of presence of mind. I know some 90-year-old people that are still extremely sharp and will hold a very deep conversation with you. So I think we need to focus on the individuals and shouldn't be an age-related thing. Age comes with experience, but you could be in touch with what's happening around you, or you could be completely out of touch. It really depends. It really depends on your state of mind as well as your connection to your community and your country. So I don't think that it matters I don't think that that's what matters.
Right now, no, but I hope so in the future.
Why do you hope so?
We need younger people.
Okay. What about you? Does age matter?
I think it should matter.
Why?
I think when you get to a certain age, your brain starts to not be as functional as it once was. And you might not be able to make good judgment calls.
It is a factor, one factor of many.
Okay. Why is it a factor?
Quite simply because generally speaking, not a universal, people may have less energy. There may even be cognitive issues. Energy and cognitive issues, I'd say that's it.
I think that you have to be around in good health, let's say that.
Okay.
And yeah, I don't think age would matter aside from that though, as long as you're in good health, around for a few years.
Sure.
I'd say as long as they're healthy enough to make it through at least one term, that's all that should matter. I mean, I'm sure their mental capacity would obviously matter, but I think the health is really all that matters.
I feel like if nothing's impaired up there, no, I don't think it should be a problem. I think experience is a good thing. If you're looking at a long-term president, 8 years wise, I would say it's something that they as individuals should need to consider, because that's time they have to give up, and who knows how long either of them have. I don't know how their health is going either way. So from a citizen standpoint, no. From a candidate standpoint, something they should consider.
Yeah.
Why?
Because the older you get, the higher the risk of mental decline.
Okay. How much does that concern you?
It concerns me. Look what happened to Ronald Reagan.
I don't think it matters. I think I'd prefer someone that, has more chances of doing a whole 4 years. For us as Canadians, easier to deal with one person than change half mandate because the guy died.
Over the last 4 years since the pandemic began, hybrid working models or working from home has been the norm for scores of Canadians, which includes tens of thousands of public servants. But this September, the federal government says it will require public servants to work from the office for at least 3 days per week. Many public servants are strongly against the new mandate, and public service unions are vowing to fight it every step of the way. So we took to the streets to hear what you think about this. Our question:
do you agree that public servants should be required to work in the office 3 days per week?
I think it depends on I think there's people that actually can work at home. And then I think there's people that are not as capable as getting as much done as they would if in the office. And I also believe that it actually stunts some people because they're not learning from their peers who have more experience. And I think that's a shortfall.
I don't believe the government should be treated any different than the private sector, and it seems like the private sector has gone to their work from home policy is that they don't have a work from home policy. And I think people should be able to go back to work, and I also believe that people need to be in the office. It creates a community, it fosters innovation. I think people working in silos is no good for anybody.
Yes, work from home culture was for the pandemic, and I guess like work from home makes a person lazy. They don't see they don't see their own potential, what they can work for.
If their job entails that they could do their job just as well from their homes where they could do other things at the same time, then obviously they should be able to do so. I'm a public servant, I'm a teacher, so obviously I can't work from home ever because I have to be with kids, and that makes perfect sense, but a lot of jobs aren't like that.
I think public servants, similar to people in the private sector, working in the office, depending on the nature of the job, is important. And so, if it's part of the job to work in the office, I think that for sure they should be required to work in the office.
No. I think they should be as us, like other people. I mean, the COVID already done, and I feel that everyone should return back to the offices because it also promotes the economical and other small businesses to grow, right? You go to the office, you go out buy coffee, you go buy lunch, so yeah.
No, I think we proved in 2020 that we were able to be efficient from a distance, and I'm all for work from home. As long as there's clear criteria and that you you're meeting the performance indicators, I don't think you should be obliged to go back to work.
I think so, yes. It gets them into the community. Pretty simple as that, honestly, instead of sitting at home. Yeah.
You think it helps the economy, things like that?
Yeah, yeah. They're out, they're buying lunch, they're buying dinners. Yeah.
No. No.
Why?
It's not necessary. What? It's not necessary.
Why?
We can do everything at home.
Yeah. I think the pandemic proved that a lot of people can work just as efficiently at home and do their work. I think as long as people are getting their work done, it shouldn't matter. But then again, there's different styles of managing, and I think people like to be able to watch what people are doing, and that's why they're making them go into the office.
That's up to management. That's called management rights. And management has certain rights to dictate the work that is done, and one of them is where the work is performed. So we're going to have to leave it to management to decide the correct balance.
My dad likes the hybrid personally. My mom's less mobile, just like low back problems. So she's not looking forward to it. She's looking that she can oppose that. At least half the week spent at home. I think she'd benefit from that. But I think enforcing it's not a bit much because you can be just as much productive at home. You save a lot of time too because there's less commute, stuff like that.
I was a public servant, and I worked 5 days in the office. And I think working in the office gives you more of a sense of working as a team and consulting with your colleagues, and you're not necessarily staring at a screen all day. I think it's just healthier.
It just depends on what department they're working in. If it's something that requires being in the office, absolutely. If it's something that can be done off-site, then you're not wasting taxpayers' money to be in an office, to use other things.
If the job can get done without going to the office, why not? You don't need to, personally. I don't think it makes a difference working from home or working in the office.
I'm like, yeah, sounds fair. It depends on the task they have to do, but if it's mostly work that's like doesn't need the client facing, I think if other industries are doing it, it's only fair that they should be able to do the same thing. As long as I think productivity won't be affected, so yeah.
That really depends on what they do for a living. If they can work from home and get their job completed, then by all means, let them work from home.
I think they should work from home if they're able to get their job done at home, because I think the less rent that the government has to pay for people to be at work is better for the country. It's money to spend.
That's a tough one. I have to go in 2 days a week. Management where I work has to go in 3 days a week. So I think if the private sector and the public sector are going to be kind of even in that sense, so I would say they probably should have to go in eventually. I've been going in for almost 2 years now, and I know the federal government just mandated them to go in, oh God, I think in September, 3 days a week. So I think it's about time they need to go in. I have to do it, so why don't they have to do it, in other words?
Of the 5 Great Lakes, how many are situated entirely in the United States? 0, 1, or 3?
0.
1.
3.
The Great Lakes. 1. I'm going to say 1.
I think 1.
0, 1, or 3? I believe it's 1.
I'll say 1 as well.
0.
Entirely in the United States? I think it's only Lake Michigan, I think.
Don't quote me.
I think it's 1.
I think it's 0.
It's Lake Michigan.
Good job,
So 1.
sis. See, I told you.
Yay!
You did well. Of the 5 Great Lakes, only one, Lake Michigan, is situated entirely within U.S. territory. The other 4 Great Lakes, Lake Huron, Lake Ontario, Lake Erie, and Lake Superior, all border with Canada. Lake Michigan is the 3rd largest of the Great Lakes by surface and the 5th largest lake in the world. It is estimated that about 12 million people live on its shores, mainly located in Chicago and Milwaukee. AI seemingly continues to develop with each passing day, and while its potential may be exciting, there's also the potential for AI-related fraud, especially against those who are most vulnerable.
AI-related scams are becoming increasingly and alarmingly sophisticated in recent times, to the point where it can imitate the voice of a loved one calling you looking for money or your personal information. But could our federal government shield us from these dangers? And if so, how? Our question.
How can the government protect Canadians from AI-related scamming?
Better protections, regulations. I think we need more of that.
Okay. Can you think of an example at all?
For example, the bank should educate the public about AI scamming, come up with better technology.
Okay. And you?
Yeah, I agree that there should be better technology to be able to prevent these scams, but also more education and getting the word out there of what to look out for.
More penalties.
Sorry?
More penalties.
Oh, yes, more penalties for people that get caught. Yeah.
I don't know if there's anything they can do right now. I don't know what they've been trying to. Stricter restrictions would be great, I think. But at the same time, people are going to find ways around that. I really hope not, but it's just the way technology is.
Probably investing more in online security, making sure that there's like one unique place where we can verify what's like on our credit bureaus or stuff like that. I think that would be a start.
Maybe just some more education as well, provided easily accessible to everybody.
I don't know how you regulate it. So I don't know exactly what they could do, but I think they should try and put some sort of regulation in to prevent scamming.
I'm not educated in the subject. I really have no clue what.
Do you think maybe it's an educational issue though, or?
It could be, yeah. Like I said, I'm really not sure.
Okay, did you want to try that?
I honestly don't have much to say either about AI because I don't trust it, I don't use it, I stay away. Yeah.
Why?
I don't think it's something that we should rely on as a whole at all. I think everything you should be learning should be on your own whim and educate yourself.
Oh, that's tough. It's going to be mostly education and awareness. It has to be how to spot it and what to do about it. It's like all the scams going on. There's every cell phone call I get is a scam, it seems. So just education and how to recognize what is real and what isn't, and what is AI and what isn't AI, I think is important.
I've heard about scams. You hear it on the news that people think that they're talking to someone legit, and meanwhile it's not really them, right? Yeah. You know?
I think more educations, right? Especially for people that are not too familiar to in that space, because it's easy to get to be, I guess, conned by dupes, and also that's the preemptive work, but post scam too, to have like services that can help people emotionally, mentally, and financially, like what bank do with like fraud basically. So yeah.
Spreading awareness campaigns, running campaigns around, educating people what it is. And to be aware, like if you see something like that, approaching a police or something like that, a specific, cyber security cell, into like running by government, you approach them, making a good team out there, like have some proper team who can take number of people coming in at a certain period of time, because AI is booming right now and there are lots of scam as well. So there will be an increase in scams as well. So we need to have a good team down there. Need to focus on the roots basically from the base.
I mean, I don't know a ton about tech things in general, but it's been the case with so many things for the last couple of 100 years that specific regulations can be helpful. Never perfect, but can be helpful. I can see it being very possible to regulate uses of AI in tech spaces, and that's not going to prevent everything such as scamming, but you can certainly have things helping, especially when there's laws that you can use to prosecute.
There definitely, I wouldn't say rules or regulations, but as I said, maybe more like a passcode protections or something, you know, or there should be, because recently there's lots of information leakage going on, right? Even like I got a mail from my dentist office saying that there have been some leakage on the personal information, so maybe they should work on that side of, with the businesses like dental, optometrist or other, where we actually put our personal information.
I think it's important to understand what AI is. It's such a growing technology. It's tough to get a handle on. I think we all need to be educated and and be mindful of the potential scams out there. I'm not sure what the government can do, maybe education. I'm not sure, it's complex.
Canada's electoral process has been under the microscope a lot lately in recent times, especially in the wake of foreign interference allegations in Canadian elections, which has many people feeling our democracy has been undermined. As part of CPAC's upcoming project focusing on disinformation and democracy both here in Canada and around the world, we took to the streets to ask Canadians if they still have confidence in our democratic system. Our question:
do you trust Canada's election process?
I believe I trust them. I've never encountered any issues. Every time I go vote, everyone seems to be doing their job. They check your ID properly. They make sure you put it in the box. So I think it's legitimate. I don't think there's an issue with it. That's my opinion.
The election process, absolutely. I don't trust who's in power, but the process is absolutely fine.
No, I do not. Why not? I don't think any of the election processes are fair. It's all paper done, everything's scanned, but there's so many ways that they're not getting scanned properly. Folded papers, pencil check marks, light, dark. I don't think any of the part of the election process is fair.
I do trust it, but I think the government needs to do more to protect the integrity of the election process, which is so fundamental to democracy. So it's coming increasingly difficult, but I think they're trying to do a good job. I hear it on the news. They're doing committees and whatnot about foreign interference and whatnot. So I think it's important. But I think it's okay, but it's getting worse, it seems.
No, I don't.
Why not?
I don't think it's fair. I think it's very based on rhetoric. Who can afford the best commercials to slander the next person? I think it's basically running for government is basically running for a money grab, how you're going to line your pockets for yourself. I don't think the politicians today really care about actual Canadians. They really just care about big business and their friends and keeping their monetary wealth and keeping the regular Canadians and everyday Canadians out of society.
You know, with the current system, I'm decently confident in to deliver a result. I don't know that we would have the. I don't know that there would be enough power to sort of scam the results enough here. Is what I'm thinking. But yeah, yeah, 7 out of 10. You know, probably room for improvement, but I'm not disillusioned by the results.
Yes, I would prefer it was not first past the post, but at this point, I think that mostly it is a fair and reasonable process.
I have to because I feel like it's our voice and our voice is important. And I think having the interference from other countries is scary, but I have to believe in democracy, and it matters.
To be honest, like I don't subscribe to many of the conspiracy theory ideas. I believe that there is a fair democratic process, and it's not being tampered with in Canada.
I still do. Actually, one thing, what I'm doing, I don't know about other people, when I go for elections, I use my own pen. I don't use pencils. So that's always create questions why they're using the pencils, because basically you can erase what you've been written, so I use my own pen. But other than that, I still do.
Well, I think very long tradition. It's quite obvious that it's quite secure in most places. I don't think there's any reason to not trust the process itself. There's a lot of reason to not trust politicians and what they say, but as far as how many votes there are for different parties and stuff like that, there's never been any good evidence to the contrary to even think for a second that the processes themselves are being cheated or anything like that.
I think the election process is flawed and certainly needs to be reviewed and some improvements made. No, it's difficult to continue with the current process.
Oh, well, I've participated in it. I mean, I've seen ballots being counted and, you know, the whole process. It's remarkably community-based, with multiple people checking, people of different viewpoints. You don't get the issues you might get with electronic counting of ballots and whatnot. Our old-fashioned way is not very susceptible to people playing silly bugger.
No.
Why?
I don't trust the government.
Okay.
Truthfully, because, yes, I don't trust the government.
Okay, what about you?
I do, yeah, I do. I think that there's laws. Our government is, it's what we vote for, and I trust the election process. I trust our government.
Absolutely.
Why?
I used to work as an election observer. I have a postgrad degree in election management. Canada's election system is quite good.
I don't trust it as much. Just as someone, I had 1 week spent in civics in high school. So in terms of government, how it runs, they don't really spend much time on it when you're younger, and then they kind of force you to figure it out on your own when you're older, which is why I don't trust it as much as I should, just because I don't feel as informed as I should be. And I think the outreach isn't there, and if you start it younger, people have an interest when they're older, so it's easier to know how things operate.
Thanks for watching this episode of Outburst on CPAC. If you have any comments about this show or any other show, you can find us on social media. You can also find us on our website at www.cpac.ca. I'm Glenn McGuinness, and on behalf of my colleagues at the Cable Public Affairs Channel, thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.